This is Atlas Thugged. As much as we have, it's currently a media blackout right now. It's about a 10-minute video here. Get the libertarians out of this party, dude. Part of a new series I'm going to be running called Bot or Not.
I grew up as a white man, and you're the, you know.
It's time we have a difficult conversation about race.
40 IQ points it needs to think about what is being told to you.
Most people are just blatantly apathetic to what goes on around them, their surroundings, let alone this blatant.
A trans woman's penis make you gay?
Can I define to answer that comment?
The dating market is for men your age.
I'm not a misogynist, I'm a sexist.
Right, like for example, like as a white man, I can go out and I could go right here in Columbus and scream the N-word as loud as I wanted to because I have that privilege. Those who would sacrifice a little freedom for a little convenience serves neither.
Titan says, Browns should be. We were just trying to help them run a better empire.
Hey, truth.
But she's straight up, she's like, stock market. She's like, bro, like, I can't even buy a fucking house. Like,
And, probably doesn't help that half the comments are, how are you not banned on YouTube? Man, how is this guy? How is this guy not banned on YouTube? It's like, yeah, I'm sure YouTube probably picks up on those things. And they're probably wondering why so many people are saying that,
and all these top brass pundits who have some kind of association or relationship with Epstein, it's getting to the point where you got to think like I'm about to go look at my residential history and be like, did I live next to Epstein for like some time? Like, man, everyone on this planet must have some relation to Epstein. And then you go, oh, actually, no. This is because the administration is all wrapped in together with it themselves.
and I said this maybe about a year ago, what if Christianity wasn't in such a cucked position that what if Andrew Tate, like Tristan, would have went to a Christian position? Fell for it again award, #1 right here. And you know what? I can't even make fun of the audience because I fell for it too. And that's probably what I'm most pissed about. He's huffing some extreme copium. Oh yeah, sister, you definitely owned him. Hey, can I see you after tonight? It's like that's that's what you're competing up against because or bad jacketing him and calling him a weird little gay.
Is this like alt-right Colt's husband? What am I listening
Yeah.
Okay, stop it. This guy's gonna get into statistics and stuff like that.
Oh, no, statistics, not
So-
we don't do statistics.
Thank you and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged. And join with me today is a man who has coined a term that I've become quite fond of, which is always judge a book by its cover. He's a rising creator. It's been mentioned by Nick. He has a great video on Nick. He's also covered Hitler and Jesus. This is Prosopa Insights. Welcome in. Glad to have you, brother.
What's up? Hey, you can, my name is Taylor. I'm head honcho. A lot of people just call me Prosopa, though, which I didn't really expect, but that happens when you're a creator, and that's what's on there. Prosopa Insights is my brand, my company, and I do this little thing called physiognomy, also known as face reading, which is assessing people's personality characteristics and general attitude characteristics, internal things like that from their physical appearance.
Yeah, I think one of the first videos I think I saw of you was actually covering Nick. I think that was the first one I came across of yours, was the recommended.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm very intrigued by this. And I think the way that I had opened up the conversation to you was the first person that kind of brought my attention to, and how do you pronounce it? I always say it wrong.
Physiognomy.
Physiognomy. Okay, because I always say it wrong. I always, like, I don't pronounce the G, or I say it some other way.
A lot of people drop the G. It's fine. It's Greek.
Interesting. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Because it was Arthur Kwon Lee, and he's kind of a prominent rising account on X, and he's an artist. And that's where I got the term from, and I didn't realize it was a thing. And so I started looking into it, and I was like, this is kind of intuitive. I feel like some of these things I just kind of know instinctually when I look at people, but the way that it kind of articulates it goes into extreme detail. And so I guess one of the first questions I have for you is, if you were to explain it to someone who had no idea what you were talking about, how would you open up? What would be your opening explanation of it?
Yeah, well, the idea is basically that physical and mental traits correlate. In the past, people put a spiritual dimension to this. So you have Hermeticism, where they say as above, so below, the principle of correspondence, as explained in the Kabbalion and elsewhere. But nowadays, we know that the main causative factor of this is genetics, which is, the body is a holistic system. So every part affects every other part, especially with genes. People have a very simplistic view of genes where they're like, well, it's like you learn Punnett squares in high school biology, and people are like, well, this is the brown eye gene, and this is the blue eye gene, and you have one or the other. And no. Eye color is factored for by at least 16 different genes. And then each of those, any number of those genes can also affect any number of other processes in the body. So it's a very complex web, because you got to think the gene, if you break it down, the gene codes for a protein, which can go around and do all sorts of stuff. And so because of that, you find stuff that correlates. A big one as well is hormones, because hormones, they affect everything in the body, which includes your brain, which is the seat of the personality and all that. A lot of stuff about your personality and your character, it's stored in your brain. It's programmed into your genes. I mean, a lot of people have personality traits that they inherit from their parents. Now, this isn't to say that it's fully deterministic, that there's no free will, because, there are people who have genes that make them predisposed towards alcoholism. There's a gene that's been identified, it's like the MAOA gene, MAOA gene, that makes you predisposed towards violence and aggression. But that doesn't absolve you.
Group of people who have that.
Yeah, I mean, it does have like different correlations among different groups, and especially like if you look in the prison population, it's way through the roof. But there are lots of non-criminals, non-prisoners who have this gene too, and they sublimate it into like sports or something. At the end of the day, you still have moral responsibility, but it's just a way of discovering these correlations that are sort of programmed into our biology and our genes. I'll add in real quick before I finish this thing another really great example of just not just of human physiognomy, but animal physiognomy as a whole, because there's the same technology, the same hardware there in terms of genetics and expression. There's this Russian team who a few decades ago, they wanted to replicate the breeding of dogs from wolves, the domestication of dogs. They did it with foxes. It's a lot safer, obviously. And so they only selected for the most domesticity and the most kind and peaceful and human-friendly foxes. They didn't select for anything else, just those personality traits. And what they found is that after a couple generations, their new domesticated friendly foxes sort of spontaneously started having floppy ears and patchy spotted coats and all of these dog traits. And it turns out, they didn't know beforehand, but they found out that floppy ears and all these things that make dogs look different than wolves are linked to the gene for domesticity. That's more active when they're puppies and then recedes as they grow into wolves.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I guess overall kind of gist there, kind of what you had led with was, especially with the eye colors, that we've kind of dumbed down the understanding of like what it is with genes. We kind of dumbed it down because you were saying that, and it's like I've never heard that before. All I can remember from science class is the basic, gene chart, right? Big R, little r, dominant trait, recessive trait, and it sounds like it goes way deeper than that.
Absolutely. I mean, Mendelian. And what you learn in high school is Mendelian genetics. It's Punnett squares, it's stuff like that, and that's the first level. And that's not necessarily wrong in all cases, but it's deeper than that, right? Like you have in physics, you have Newtonian physics, which is the most basic level. But if you just go off that, there's a lot of things in astronomy that don't make sense until you get to like Einstein's theory of relativity. And likewise with a lot of other things, there are layers of learning. And so that basic understanding of genetics can somewhat work, but it's a lot more complex. And now it's really being borne out by the genetic studies, and especially a lot of this AI facial recognition stuff. There have been a lot of studies coming out where they're like, we fed a bunch of faces into an AI, and it can accurately predict someone's political orientation, religiosity, sexual orientation, big 5 personality traits. So that's openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And even like autism too. All of that stuff can be determined by the face, because they train the AI, then they show it someone's face, and it's like, this is a heterosexual Republican who is highly religious, etc. So
I mean, that's kind of aggressive. And it's kind of wild too, because all this is a bit topical. There's what's that game called? It's a newer one. It's oh my gosh, Death Stranding, I think is the name of it. It's got Norman Reedus in it, and I think it's like the newest one. It's like Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
But because China is so locked down with a lot of this facial recognition stuff, especially for like age restriction, I saw an article that a lot of these younger kids were actually taking the cover of the game and using it, giving it to the AI, because Norman Reedus's face on the cover of the game is so realistic that it was bypassing certain AI systems.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's wild to hear on that end that's happening, but at the same time, it's able to determine, with great accuracy, 5 major personality traits. And I guess the question still remains, what got you into this, and what also gave you an idea that like this had some actual kind of roots in reality? Like it was a valuable metric to look at.
For sure. So I'd known about the term physiognomy before, and I've heard about the more common term is face reading, right? I go for physiognomy myself because I had noticed that word had gotten some online clout. It's sort of there's a lot of resources online for like face reading under that term, but physiognomy had kind of become a meme word online in a very sort of shallow way, right? There wasn't any sort of deep dive content on it.
Yeah.
But I see, especially on Twitter, you mentioned that Arthur Kwan Lee guy, who I checked out his art. He's a great artist. His stuff is really cool. But you have this term floating around, and people, and I get these comments a lot on like my TikTok and stuff and YouTube where they're like, well, this doesn't make sense because so-and-so. People basically use it to believe like, well, if someone's conventionally attractive, they're good, and if they're conventionally unattractive, they're bad, right? And so the main meme with this is you get like a goofy looking Biden liberal, and people are like, failed the physiognomy test.
Right.
But then like you look at like Richard Ramirez, who's like this handsome, looks max guy, and he's the Night Stalker. He's like this brutal serial killer. So there's a lot more complexity there than people put to it. So I'd heard about that. I really got into it when I was in Jordan. Overcoming a little bit of a throat thing, so I'm trying not to cough too much.
No, you're good.
So I was in Jordan, summer abroad studying Arabic, and we were with visiting some Bedouins out in the desert in their village, and I picked up on some of these things. They were saying, "Oh, nose, ear like this, it means these certain things," and that kind of got on my mind. Like in Arabic, they call it al-firasa. And there's a whole separate Arab Islamic tradition of physiognomy and face reading. Every major civilization has their own tradition, and they correlate a lot on stuff like independently.
Interesting.
Yeah, even though they have different focuses, like Chinese face reading is really focused on fortune telling. So it's like trying to identify like moles or wrinkles that can tell you like if you have a big inheritance coming or something like that.
That's
But
fun.
when they talk about the personality stuff, it correlates pretty strongly with the stuff that the Greeks or the Arabs or the Indians were talking about around the same time or later. So I saw that. I noticed some correlations with friends I knew, and then I started looking into it, and I was like, oh, what is, a physiognomy, face reading, that's a thing. What is this, eye shape that I noticed on this guy mean? Does it mean the thing that I think it means? And it's like, oh, yeah, it does. So I get into that. I started watching this guy, Dr. Peter Resnick, and I actually have his book right here. It's all beat up because this thing has crossed continents with me. I keep this wherever I go.
That's
book
awesome.
Is, I need to write my own book so I can shill that and make money off this. But
Right, right. And an Amazon link.
Face reading secrets for successful relationships. You can get this off Amazon.
You said Peter Resnick?
Resnick, Reznik. He is a psychiatrist in New York City. He is a Soviet, a Jewish Soviet emigre. I think he's in like his 60s or 70s now. And he practices, I had seen his YouTube videos in like 2016 talking about Trump and Hillary and stuff. And so this was around 2021, and I'm Jordan. I remember that. And I find him, and I watch all his videos, and I take extensive notes, and I start a journal of my own observations. I get obsessed with this. Around that time is when I start my Twitter account. I started out as, it was like physiognomy bro or something really generic.
Yeah.
I was really like BAP adjacent at the time. And a lot of those guys actually still follow me. I'm not active on there anymore because Twitter is not the most productive platform for getting getting attention, getting your word out there.
Stuff out there.
Yeah, it's especially after Elon bought it, the slop is unreal, man. I had to just throw in the towel.
Yeah. I wish I could block India on there, man.
Yeah, even without that, I think I don't have much social media. I can't do Facebook, Snapchat, anything where it's, because you got to take into account these websites are designed by some of the smartest people in the world to get and keep your attention. So it's a dangerous game.
Right.
Please still watch YouTube though. That's very important. But that is real. I do watch YouTube because longer form stuff, it's doom scrolling is less of a danger.
Right.
But anyway, so I got into that. I started posting about it on there, sort of based on Peter Resnick stuff, which the term for that is morphopsychology. So that's basically what he practices. That's what I practice. That developed in France. It was based on the ancient Greek original physiognomy. They added in some Renaissance stuff, some modern science, and it has some decent traction in French psychiatry. So a lot of the good modern face reading resources are in French, but they'll have these big professional psychiatry textbooks on morphopsychology, which is just a synonym for physiognomy, face reading. You have it there in the name, morpho meaning shape or body appearance, and then psychology. So that, and it kind of snowballed from there. And I kept making observations, and I started doing readings for people online, and everyone was like, that was so accurate. And I was like, yes, it is. And past a certain point, I eventually actually began to believe that. I was like, this is actually real. I had my doubts at first, but now none. It's absolutely real.
Right. No, yours, so Arthur kind of opened the door. Well, you slammed it. You came through and slammed it for me. I was like, okay, there's a lot more to this than I think meets the eye. And so I'm very, very, very open to it, especially seeing how all the different cultures also practiced it too, in their own kind of variations to different degrees. That's, and then I think too, you getting into it and now you're doing, you do face readings on your website, right? For
I do.
Paid, I would imagine.
They're paid, yeah, because they're pretty intensive. So I hold myself to a pretty high standard, I like to think. So I don't cheap out on anything. I don't like to do a lazy face reading unless someone's like, hey, can you just give me a quick intuitive read? I'm just like, oh, it looks like this and that. But these, you get a whole PDF written out, and depending on the package you get, it'll go from just explaining the meaning of your features to I will go more in depth on relationship advice stuff. I had a consultation call with a girl yesterday, I think, about relationships. Like she had just gotten out of a long-term relationship and she was looking for advice with that. And I walked her through this whole thing of like the two sides of her face show that the two hemispheres of her brain are projecting like different personalities. So she has a true self and then a kind of false self that she projects out when she begins relationships. And so turns out that her problem was that she was projecting this different image. And then when people got to know her more serious and determined and driven side, they were kind of like, that's not what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
So we worked through that. But yeah, it's prosopainsights1word.com, and I do some stuff there.
And great
I might be
website,
launching
by the
it.
way. Great website, by the way. Looks very cool.
Yeah. I had some family help designing it.
It's awesome.
Got some people who know a little bit about that. But yeah, just kind of a basic website repository for my stuff, and that's just the main way. If you want to get in touch with me, do it through there. Like I try to answer DMs on TikTok. My Twitter is basically dead. Like I occasionally, when I go in there, I try to check the DMs, see if anything major's popped up. But yeah, contact me on my website if you want to ask me anything.
I get that. Hey, well, thank you for the introduction. I'm going to grab a couple of super chats here because I think a couple of them are asking some questions here.
Nice.
See if I got one on screen still. Let's see. This first one, I believe, is from Donnie. What did Donnie say? You should like the video and send some love to our guests. Yes, definitely. You can check him out. Again, he's in the description, guys, if you want to check out. Make sure you subscribe to Prosopa. The next one I have here is from Punished Mav, I believe. Yes, Punished Mav. He says, Taylor, are you Christian? If so, which denomination?
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. I am Christian. Yep. I'm very Christian. Wasn't always. I was raised like non-denominational, and then I went. I had an edgy high schooler phase where I bounced around between like pagan and Hindu and lots of different things. But yeah, I'm Anglican, so Anglican Church of America. I'm not like confirmed in it yet, because I was still sort of church shopping, so to speak. But yeah, I do abide that. I've got a friend who introduced me to it, sold me on it, read some about the theology, and there's some good stuff there. I really like
That's awesome.
Redeemed Zoomer. You ever seen him?
Yeah, RC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see a lot of his
RC,
stuff.
That's he was kind of a big factor in me, like thinking in terms of traditional Protestantism, where it's I think he makes a very good distinction where it's not. You see these tradcast posts, thing where it's like, oh, the Catholicism is traditional Latin Mass. It's all traditional Latin Mass and anti-abortion stuff, right? And then Protestantism is all Joel Osteen megachurches. It's like, well, a more meaningful difference might be like traditional Christians, which includes the Reformers, right? If you got Martin Luther and John Calvin to talk to some of these modern Baptists, a lot of them they would sound Catholic to them because they were like real presence in the Eucharist, baptism saves, respect for Mary. So there's that, and that's kind of a separate thing, but that's kind of my view towards religion.
Yeah. No, and RZ, I think does some great work, like, especially when I was early on in my journey too. I saw a lot of like his older YouTube videos. I think the one that I liked a lot was when he covered the difference between the denominations. I think it might be his most viewed video, actually. It's like 30 minutes long, and it goes into big detail of like all the differences there. He does good work. But as I've come through my journey, I feel like I'm probably on an opposite side of RC now, especially in terms of Christian nationalism. But that is a side point, though. One of the next things that I wanted to open up to you and talk about a bit was how important this is. But before we get to how important it is, the first thing I want to say is it seems like a lot of cultures actually put a lot more stock into this like 200, 300 years ago. And I'm kind of curious, in your opinion, why do you think that disappeared? Or why do you think we stopped using this as a bit more of like a hallmark of science? And now it's kind of pushed, kind of obfuscated off into like, witchcraft almost. Why do you think it fell from grace? World War II? It's
World War II. It's the New Deal regime, the post-Nuremberg order. And that's what did it. The same thing happened with, so-called race, right? I don't like the term race because it can be a little sloppy. It does have its place, I think, but it describes a lot of things that nowadays, like when they do the research on it, they have to sort of use different terms. So you have different terms used for linguistics, in archaeogenetics, in population genetics, for describing, you know, differences between people. And the same thing happened on an individual level with individual differences in physiognomy. So anything that was associated with the Nazi regime sort of got, I think, unfairly pushed to the margins. And this is something, you know, one of the first comments I got on my TikTok was like, the Nazis used physiognomy. And it's like, kind of, not that much actually. They were more into like the like more strictly like eugenics sort of stuff, not so much like assessing people's personality, but like race and group belonging. But even then, like the Nazis used a lot of things. Like the Nazis invented rocket science. You know, should we not go to space because that's a Nazi thing? The Nazis were big on, like, you know, they used Darwinian evolution to be like, well, you know, we're more highly evolved, so we got to kill these people. You know, that's just a very fallacious argument of like, you know, it's the classic Hitler drank water, therefore if you drink water, you're a Nazi.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. No, and I mean, that's part of it too. You know, the post-war consensus obviously has its tendrils everywhere. I would say where has it not been touched? It's a much smaller list. And it's kind of wild to hear that as well too, you know, that there's another kind of major element, because you got to think about it too. Like physiognomy is something that's very intuitive, and I would imagine wouldn't take much to teach another individual, and could be like a very prominent use of a science that would be well within reach for most people to kind of grasp, you know, of recognizing face shapes and things. And, you know, for us to go away from it's obviously, I think, another step in that direction, obviously, from where we've went with the post-war consensus. But I did have two more super chats come in. One is actually directed at you, but it's not connected. So let me find the right question. The first one is from Punished Mav again. And he says, can you give a fast physical check on Atlas, or physiognomy check on Atlas? You don't have to.
I can if you want. If you aren't comfortable with it, then we can forgo that maybe to the end.
We'll go one direction, because I get attacked all the time for being non-white. Everyone thinks I have strong non-white genetics. I don't think so. But what would, in your estimate, what do you think?
You just look like you kind of just look like an English guy to me, honestly, like English, cool. French, Irish. You have if we're gonna go, which that's another thing I talk about, differentiate phenotypes and physiognomy. Phenotype is basically like physical race, and then like the physical expression of your genetic heritage, and physiognomy is your individual personality. So there's a collective and an individual thing. In terms of the collective thing of what your heritage might be, I mean, you have a pretty, I'd say like Irish, English, British kind of look, like that longer curved nose. That's for the Celtic Nordic phenotype specifically.
That's awesome. Okay, because my surnames would be Newland and Shepherd, which if you look those both up, they're like English and Scottish.
They're very English, yeah.
I don't want to pay the whatever it is to send my DNA to like 23andMe, so I've avoided it. So like maybe it'll forever
23andMe is went bankrupt, and all of the DNA and information is for auction now.
Right. Yeah. That's what I don't want to be doing, is giving it to somebody who
Varg was totally vindicated on that, which I don't know if I don't follow him that closely. I was super into him when I was a pagan, of course. Yeah. But I remember him saying, like, people were like, Varg, do a 23andMe. It's like, I'm not sending my DNA to Google for them to spy on me.
Well, exactly. Especially when you know what we know about, like, the well, I guess I'll hold back a little bit. You know, you don't ever want to give over something that could be used to engineer something, you know, just based off of your own DNA, right? And then it's going to harm you and nothing else.
Don't do biometric stuff. I don't do biometric stuff because I heard it was if you remember Mr. Medicare from back in the day, he's still alive, even though he has like 20 diseases at once or something. I legitimately think he got hexed. I think he angered someone who was like an actual wizard or witch, like a voodoo person. Because he's in like the Mayo Clinic, like research hospital, He's been there for like 5 years, and they're like, we have no idea what is going on with your body, but you have like all the diseases.
It won't let him die.
Yeah, and he's still
Kinda
like
curse.
doing yearly live streams or whatever. But he said something about biometric data, which is that any of these companies, they have, I'm getting unfocused here.
You could. I'll see if I can fix you.
Yeah. See if that can work on your end. Okay, cool.
There we go.
But his these companies get leaks, and like then you have to change your password, right? If your password
Right.
gets leaked, if there's an email leak. And I don't know if this has ever happened, but like if your biometric data is stored somewhere and they have a leak, like what happens, right? These passwords get leaked. You can't change your password then. Your fingerprint is out
Right.
there, linked with your name, publicly available forever. And then you can never use it again, and it can be used against you. So don't do the biometric stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad that you say that too, because that's one thing that I've never done, and it's kind of getting annoying now. Because like so many apps, because they just expect the average person is just basically going to turn over their Face ID, their fingerprint, and their retina. That all these apps, when I turn all those features off, they like have these like piss poor UIs for actually typing in a password, and it's like, dude, they're trying to make me just give up my data. I refuse to.
Yeah.
There was another follow-up question though, and thank you very much. This is from Atticus Purvis. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate it very much. Their follow-up question, because they said, I don't know how to super chat. Taylor, do you know about Rupert Sheldrake morphic resonance?
Sheldrake. Yes. I'm gonna remember this guy's face when I see it. Yeah, that guy. What's up, Atticus? If you are who I think you are, what's up? I gotta meet you at some point. I think this might be a friend of a friend, but I'm not sure.
Word.
There aren't that many Atticuses out there.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
fire name.
It is
Great
cool.
name.
But I have heard of it. I have not looked deeply into it. But it goes around. I'm pretty sure what he's talking about is it's this English physicist, psychologist with it's one of these like fringe science theory of everything things. Which not to poo-poo him. Like I do fringe science. I do pseudoscience professionally.
Right.
So we love fringe science. We love eccentric geniuses here, but I've not looked too deeply into that. No, I do think it's interesting. I think his thing is like trying to find a way with physics and stuff to prove that like consciousness creates the universe, right? Which is something you hear. I think he's been on Joe Rogan a ton. It's sort of in that sort of crowd.
Interesting. Okay. So he gets brought on with like Bob Lazar and they talk about UFOs.
I guess so, yeah.
I'm just messing. That's funny. And to move forward, because I don't think there's any other super chats, but I want to say thank you very much, everybody who did. The forgive me. The next thing would be, how important is this, and should there be a rise in its usage of a metric that determines, I don't know, whether it's somebody's credibility? Should this be a metric used in politics? You know, just reading someone, you know what they're predisposed or going to be inclined to behave like. You know, because I kind of see it as a valuable tool that's just not being used. So I was kind of curious what you think, and maybe it has a bit bigger application that's not being used right now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, like we talked about the post-war consensus kind of driving this to the margins, and that's falling apart. Everyone worries about there's going to be Palantir, there's going to be crazy tyranny, it's going to be Soviet-style totalitarianism. I take the view, and this isn't my original insight, this comes from other people. I think the Westphalian state that we've known for the past 300 years, everyone thinks that's the default. Like there has to be a country with a set border and one government that rules over it absolutely, and a flag, and all. That's actually totally arbitrary. In fact, for most of history, human beings were not organized that way. They were organized into tribes, cults, guilds, churches, these overlapping power structures, these power centers that sort of get weaker on the margins, and they overlap with each other. And that's what we're seeing coming back. And so I think as that happens, as the total state, the Westphalian state disintegrates, and no one believes in its narratives anymore, that's why the government's run by elderly people, because they're the only people left who still believe in the narratives. If you're under 40, you don't buy any of this stuff. So you talk to normal people, you talk to a normal 35-year-old person, guy or girl, and they just don't buy into any of this. They don't believe in science. They don't trust universities. They think everything's a scam. They're probably right too.
Fake and gay.
Yeah. And so with that, a lot of things are going to come back. Religion may or may not come back. The jury's out on that. Some of the secularization trends are kind of worrying, but I think in the long term, religion is too deeply human to not to fully go away. I think religion has been on the rise for a while, and I think it's in the long term it's going to really take over and become central to human life again. And then other ideas that were pushed to the margins, like physiognomy. I think you look at, you apply the Lindy principle, right? The Lindy effect, which is if it's been around a long time, it'll probably be around for a long time. And physiognomy is like as old as written language, and it's found independently in every civilization. So like it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. It's probably only going to reemerge more so. I might, this might be a little self-aggrandizing, but I think of myself kind of as like the tip of the spear with that, of sort of opening up the conversation on physiognomy and other things. I'd like to, long-term talk about and talk with other people who know these things about other fields of maybe fringe science that aren't that talked about, and opening up the conversation now that, the universities are going the way of the monasteries, and the printing press did in the monasteries, AI is doing in the universities. The internet did in the university, I should say. AI is the killing blow.
Yeah, and so I guess I would imagine, knowing that it's going to be around for a long time, knowing that it's got some roots in it, and seeing you as being one of, like you had said, tip of the spear, being a strong proponent of it, and if I was to give you a projection, I would imagine you're going to be like, 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers here in a few months, as long as you keep staying the pace that you're on. And, with that, I'm curious, are you ready to get, I guess, the very predictable pushback of what you're doing is racist? What you're doing is, maybe supremacist in some form, or it's like, I guess, what is the biggest pushback you get? And is there any real concern that like you will try to get canceled? Someone's going to try to go at you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something I've thought about a lot, especially when doing this professionally. It's a little edgy, but I don't worry too much about it because this isn't actually that much of a right-wing thing. So it's not like I'm talking about race science or whatever, which even then you can get pretty far. Like I think it's Robert Sepper. He talks about like flat Earth and like ancient giants and how like white people are from Atlantis or whatever. He does fine. I think this is it's very intuitive. It's more agreeable than people think. There's this top-down projected image where it's like physiognomy is evil, and you have to believe it's evil. Right. Americans are still generally Americans are not racist. Like if you talk about racial differences with Americans, they get uncomfortable. Because part of it is like a liberal propaganda thing. Part of it, I think, is just especially modern American ethos. Modern Americans are pretty egalitarian. Like they don't want to like feel like they're picking on someone.
Right.
But physiognomy, when properly practiced, is not about, well, you're ugly, so that means you're bad.
Right.
And you're hot, so that means you're good. That's like the morons' view of physiognomy.
Right. Chud versus Chad.
Yeah, like there's none. As I practice it, there are very few inherently like bad traits. I'm a big believer in human diversity, especially on like the individual level, where it's like we have a very big diverse society in the sense of like with modern technology, you need people with different roles and different personalities and different aptitudes. Everyone can't be the same.
Right.
And so if you want different personalities, by this law of correspondence with the genetics, you need different appearances. The looks maxing thing, I get a lot of them following me, a lot of them looking at my stuff, but I would say generally I'm anti-looks maxing. In most cases, I'm anti-plastic surgery, especially the way it's being done now. You've got these pretty young, these young girls who are pretty, they look nice, and they're going under the knife for these, rich surgeons. And and I don't want to poo-poo plastic surgeons in general. There's lots of legitimate cases for it, reconstructive stuff, and I mean, if
Right,
you want
for
to look
burn
a certain way,
victims
I
and
guess it's
such, yeah.
fine. But you get the stuff, these arbitrary beauty standards pushed on people. Like the nose thing, the nose job thing. Like, okay, like if it's like extreme, then maybe. But like you don't have to have a Disney princess nose. Like you look at these Greek and Roman statues, and they have a nose like an Italian lady, which is it's beautiful. You look at it like
Right.
Venus or whatever, and they don't have the little snub nose. Not to hate on that. Irish and English girls are beautiful too,
Right.
but it can all be beautiful because and those represent different things, and I think that somewhat plays into that. But yeah, that's my main take on that. Is I think people are amenable to it. People intuitively are like, oh, that makes sense. Face reading, like, oh, that because people do it intuitively. They judge people by their appearance
Right.
subconsciously all the time. Artists use it a ton. You ever watch like old cartoons, and it's like the policeman or the thug always has a face like a bulldog.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's a reason for that. And like the scientist has like a little chin, like a giant cranium, and
Right. And the
um,
tax collector generally has rubbing hands and a big
oh, cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. Hey, love 'em. I can't be hating like my my boy Peter Resnick and Jerry Epstein. Like the guys that get this from are all Jewish, so
Yeah.
we love them. But they're but yeah, no. So that's I think it'd be good. The only people I've seen who are like against it and who think are just like actual communists, right? That's why I say it's like a top-down thing where the
Yeah.
average person doesn't like it, but communists, they're always they associate it with, they try to make an association with like Nazi era racism, which is totally spurious. Like, okay, by that logic, was like Lao Tzu, was like some Chinese guy 5,000 years ago a Nazi? Was he Hitler because he believed in Mianshang and physiognomy?
Right.
So it's so universal, like you can't make that claim.
Well, and I think the thing is, you're spot on there with like the arbitrary plastic surgery stuff, which I think a lot of it's driven by like social media. I think the Kardashians are probably the first, big brand name you can put alongside that, which is, inflated ass cheeks, or forget the language, big butt cheeks, the fat lips, the Kylie Jenner challenge or whatever. But reality, like, in my position, I think most people would just be better off more confident in themselves, feel better about themselves as if they just weren't fat. I think most people think they need to go all the way to plastic surgery. It's like, no, really, it's like, you just need to go to the gym. And that's ultimately like, where I'd probably draw the line there on like looks maxing. It's obviously chase physical fitness. Because I'm a big believer of like ethos, and I do think there's a lot of credibility that's non-verbal. It's, a lot of it is. And I think you pick up on that, like with, I'm always going to say it wrong. Physiognomy. I'm always going to pronounce it wrong. But you get a little bit of that with like things like vocal resonance, right? Someone who's more fit is going to just practically have a stronger vocal capacity because they're going to have a broader lung capacity. And so there's all these kind of like practical effects that play into basic things that people ignore. But it's the same kind of idea of like, if my nutritionist comes in and she's pushing 400 pounds, I'm going to be like immediately on the surface go, your body is not matching your credentials, right? If you're a dietitian and you're overweight, do I trust what you're about to say? Because clearly you're not practicing what you preach, right? So I think there's an element of that too.
I think there's a lot of stuff that I'm a huge believer in standards. This is something that I've heard some people talk about and I have some friends who are big believers in this. And I am too, which is that you look at America and weight aside, because some of that is, I think, like industrial poisoning. Like you look at like PCOS, it's like a third of women have PCOS. Like a third of women just have a bunch of cysts in their ovaries and no one knows why. And then like the scientists and doctors are gonna be like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. I have an MD. Dude, you don't know what causes canker sores. We know nothing.
Right.
But it's
Right.
it's like that. This should be like a national health crisis. Is like a third of American women have just cysts filling their ovaries that like totally throw their hormones out of whack.
Yeah,
And
this is
there's that. There's other stuff. There's the stuff in the processed food, the stuff that
yeah,
credit where it's due. The RFK has been talking about, and I think that's good for on his part.
right. With like the thing that blows me away is like the brake dust that can penetrate through your lungs because it's so small that like brake
Yeah.
dust in cities, people are just breathing it in, or even if you weren't breathing or you held your hand up to your mouth, they're so small it can penetrate through your body. It'll find itself in your lungs. And that stuff, it's
That's
it's a
freaky.
little terrifying after a while.
Yeah. So there's some of that. So with the weight thing, and also like if we like go into the temperaments, I do believe in like also a diversity of body types. So like like some you have the different temperaments. Some people when they're fit, they're like real thin, real skinny. Some people when they're fit, they're real muscular. Some people are always going to have a little extra weight, and that's actually like decently healthy. Again, not this like 500-pound thing, but a little heavy set guy or girl. I think there's no reason to hate yourself for that. Just as long as like you're in shape, you can move around, run a bit, eating right. That's the main thing. But what I think about, and this is sort of another layer of physiognomy, right? Where it's not so much the deeper level of judging genetics, but judging decisions. Where there is a second layer, an outer physiognomy. We can say there's an inner physiognomy of your body, programmed by your genetics. But you go above the genetic level, which all animals have, to the mimetic level, which is unique to humans, which is behavior, learned behavior, especially these ideas that spread around. And that's what you can choose. This is fashion, basically. Fashion, posture, composure. And this is something that, again, give credit where it's due. Jordan Peterson talked about back in the day, back when he was cooler, back before he fried his brain, and
Before he wouldn't even say he was Christian.
yeah, and he would talk about standing up straight, like with your back straight, your chest out, your chin up, and dressing nice. Like you look at guys nowadays, and yeah, they're overweight, but it would matter a lot less if they weren't also wearing basketball shorts and sports jerseys and like ill-fitting t-shirts with holes in them, and they have calf tattoos, and they smell like weed, and they have terrible posture, and they aren't polite. No one has manners anymore.
Very true.
The Zoomers are the worst with this. I think the Gen Xers are probably worst in terms of appearance. Which kind of is a general generational cycle thing.
Yeah.
They just don't care. Zoomers, at least the one benefit of the looks maxing thing is that some people are putting effort into it. But it's just a thing of respect. Like, just make yourself presentable. I don't like to wear a shirt without a collar. Like, I do the Hawaiian shirt thing because that's fun and people like it for YouTube.
Right.
And I mean, this is like a casual podcast. Like, I'm not going to hate on you for like wearing a white t-shirt. Like that's fine.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, sometimes I do
Pretty
wear
standard.
put some collars on, make it crispy, make it stand out a little bit more. But no, I get it.
Yeah.
Very inconsiderate, and you can see that pretty easily when you look at any photo from like 1950.
Yeah.
And you look at any kind of public transit, or you take a look at like a market that day in 1953, and it's full garb. I mean, it's not just that they're wearing undergarments on top of like a tunic and pants, but they typically have a jacket. They're all wearing hats. Or a specific kind of cap. It's a whole lot more wardrobe compared to like where we're at now, where it's like
and it just gets better.
shorts.
It's more flattering. These comfort focused, really loose clothes. I've got a friend who's a big guy, right? And it was back in high school, and he wore the t-shirt and basketball shorts uniform. And facially, like he's not a bad looking guy, but he's very tall too. But he was just like a big dude.
Yeah.
And at prom, he came in the button-up jacket, dress pants, suspenders, slicked hair. He did his hair, she shaved, and he looked like $1 million. He looked like genuine, like really good-looking guy.
Cleaned up.
And I told him that then. I was like, you got to go with that. and he's sort of reached a medium point. Like he'll wear like longer pants and like a jacket and stuff. He's found more of his style. But that's a great point. Like, even if you're in the process of like losing weight, like, or you haven't even started, right now you can practice good grooming. You can get some good clothes.
Yeah.
And that's the first step in looking nice. And there's, because physiognomy is a two-way street in the
Right.
genetics portion as well. Like, if you change your personality, your physical appearance will change as well.
Right.
If you change, develop for the better gradually, because of epigenetics and hormones and gene expression, you're going to grow and mature physically too, and you're going to start looking a little better. And in terms of how you dress, it doesn't just look nice for other people. You feel better. Like, if you go around in a suit or even just in a shirt with a collar and long pants instead of basketball shorts, you feel more professional. You feel more responsibility on you. If you're well groomed, you're like, I put effort in for my appearance. I'm here for a reason. How I carry myself is important. What I do is important. I have standards that I need to hold myself to. Like, you think of all these videos of like public rage, like public freak out. Guy in donut shop rages. Guy in airport freaks out.
Yeah.
They're wearing slides and sweatpants and basketball shorts. And I'm not trying. You're smirking. I'm not doing like a coy. Usual suspects.
You're good. I wore the white tee because I was like, listen, I want to show off how buff I am with this guy over here.
That's reasonable. That's understandable. I am. That is funny that I am like I'm doing drive-bys on you with the. Now, white T-shirt is not the problem though. Like, if it was a sports jersey,
yeah, I'm catching straight.
and you do have the
here.
football hat on, so maybe I shouldn't. And you've got. You do have tattoos. So this is, I don't know, not to bite the hand that feeds me. You are my gracious host.
No, I'm dying. No, it's
your tattoos actually do look pretty tasteful, though. I do appreciate it. They look good. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple before I, kind of even came back to my Christian journey, but I'm done now. The last one I got to signify that I got the cross on my neck.
That looks really good. So.
I appreciate it. Oh, thank you very much. There's 2 super chats I've been meaning to get back to, actually.
Let's get to them.
And I think one is actually directly at you. It's rolling on the floor, laughing, meow, Kite says, have you face checked RZ?
RZ, I have not. I'm
Has
trying
he
to
doxed
remember
himself before?
Oh yeah, all his modern videos he shows his face.
Interesting. Okay.
That's the thing. He does a low angle. The big meme with RZ is that he does a low angle shot in his room, and there's a ceiling fan above him, and it looks like a propeller hat. And so his comments are all like, "Team ceiling fan, go ceiling fan." Let me
Yeah. Well, you're pulling
I'm
him
gonna
up.
look at a picture of him. I think I know a few features of his, but I just want to look at it. Yeah, he's got a Wikipedia page. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious if I
Okay.
can pull it up too.
No, I got him. If you can pull it up for the people.
Yeah.
So the big things with him. First thing let me know when you get it pulled up actually, so the people can have a reference point.
It's gonna try to find a photo. Yeah,
It's one of him in the suit with the red tie.
Yeah, that's what I'm grabbing.
Okay, that's what I'm going off of. That's the main one that people see. So he is he has wide set eyes. First off, that stands for tolerance and a big picture focus. So obviously he's big about inclusivity, denominational unity. He doesn't really get caught up in the details, and he's again big picture vision. So like think Reconquista, where it's we're going to take back the denominations, and then some of these, Anglican Church of America guys, yeah, they say, well, hold on, that we tried that before, and then these problems showed up, and he's like, no, you just got to trust the plan. Not to do a drive-by on him, I like him, and I support the Reconquista, but that's like criticism I've seen from him, from people I follow, and that's a good case study of him being very big picture focused, not a detail guy. Where he's like, yeah, I want to talk about all the Christian denominations and bring them all together. The other thing, he's got really wide splayed ears. That stands for independence. And his right ear is actually further out than his left ear. So in face reading, the left side of the face is like the inner self, the private and personal self. And the right side is the outer kind of mask. It's the professional and public self. So the
Okay.
and that comes from brain hemispheres, because your right brain is very natural and intuitive, and it controls the left side of your face and body. And the left brain is like calculated and conscious, and it controls the right side. And so FBI people will actually,
Interesting.
there's a Wired FBI body language analysis video where he talks about facial asymmetry. And it's this thing called facial chirality, chirality. And it's basically if a facial expression is asymmetrical, it's not genuine. But more specifically, what they don't add, that I know because of this stuff that I've learned from face reading, is that specifically the left side is genuine, the right side is insincere. There's a great photo of Harrison Ford at Comic-Con, where he's like doing this like weird like half smile, and then you split it in two and you look at his left side. You look at his right side and he's like cheery, smiling, like, hey, like nice guy.
Yeah.
But then you cut out the left side and take it in isolation, and it's like a deep scowl, because Harrison Ford hates Star Wars, and he hates Star Wars fans because he rocks.
So you're saying, I think you said this, I can't remember what video you said this, but it sounded like you had said the left face is like, it's like more of your truer self.
Yeah.
Where like the right side is like the public persona,
Yeah.
what you want people to perceive.
Yeah, and what I do with my readings, which are the deluxe or above, that I do the facial asymmetry analysis on, I will take the picture and I will cut off each side, and I'll duplicate it and mirror it and make a new face of like two left sides and two right sides. And some people have pretty symmetrical faces if they're like the same in public as in private. They have nothing to hide. But some people, if they have a really strong like public persona that's very distinct and different from their inner self, they'll have a lot of asymmetry, and so you can get a lot from that. But with RZ, his right ear is wider splayed than his left ear. So in private, in his personal life, he's a little less independent, a little more able to like be reliant on relationships and stuff. But in his public persona, he's very independent. So he's very self-directed.
That's interesting.
And, yeah, long eyebrows too, which means that he's like a planner type guy. He's not super spontaneous or impulsive.
Interesting. He does have a kind of a unique face compared to what I've seen from your recent videos. Actually, his is a little bit starkly different. I feel like there's a good bit of similarities between, well, it's kind of funny, between Hitler and Nick, but then Jesus was kind of like his own kind of unique face there as well, being the you said Neptune, right? Prophet. It's like the elongated.
Yeah,
elongated
long
face.
and narrow face.
Yeah. I was trying to do my best, learning and taking notes and trying to catch myself up to speed. But forgive me, there was one more super chat in here, and I think it was directed to me or both of us, from Ronnie Champa. And thank you very much. I missed it in the main chat, Ronnie, so I apologize. But he says, what do you guys think about the takeover in DC?
I guess you can lead with that one. More your forte.
I personally have not been paying attention to any kind of politics at the national level or state level for like the last 2 weeks, largely because with Prosopa being one of the first ones here, I have a series of interviews I'm about to rip off from today all the way through into the beginning of September. So I've kind of been doing like a lot of show prep. I'm spending more time trying to figure out if I need a new GPU or a new power supply to upgrade my computer than I have been spending on politics. So no, I don't have any takes. I personally don't know what's going on. Do you have a take on that at all?
Yeah. First off, good on you. Yeah, politics can be a lot of it is a big distraction, not really worth your time, energy, frustration. I get guys who are like Twitter addicts in my group chat, and it just sucks. Like they're just constantly outraged at the new thing. It never makes any difference, so it's pointless. Focus on yourself. Focus on your grind set.
You gotta build.
The one thing I will say about the DC takeover is that when you see this stuff, when you see attacking the universities, when you see trying to shut down protests, regimes that are stable and secure and will be around for a while and are confident in that don't do sudden, intense bursts of authoritarian oppression. This is like late Soviet behavior, or like you think the end of Chisinau. No, Chisinau is the city. Whoever the guy was over communist Romania, his like final days. That's desperation behavior. So I think the fact that your capital city is so poorly run that you have to bring the national military to come enforce order with it, like that's late Soviet, that's late Roman even. Like that's the sort of thing that Aurelian or one of these later emperors would have done. Call a legion into Rome because you can't enforce the law because the regime is losing its legitimacy. And that's not to say there's going to be a revolution, there's going to be a civil war, or any like goofy fantasy scenarios like that. But it's just to mean like you get this like the fall of the Western Roman Empire. It was a very slow, gradual process of decentralization where the center lost its authority. No one believed in it anymore. No one believed in its myths or its reasons for being. And eventually people just started trusting more local sources, which is good. I'm a localist. That's my strongest political belief. I think things should be done as locally as possible. Decentralize, delegate, give authority back to whatever the local community is, and let people manage their own affairs.
It's we're on a trajectory right now that's obviously got a lot of people, I think, just a little concerned. I think ultimately the left, a lot of people are paying less attention to it right now because the power plays in the right side. That's in the right hand, ballpark. But it is kind of curious that both factions are talking about, things like civil war, revolution, but both mean for entirely different reasons. And so I think the fracturing of the country, can't be understated. But not to spend too much time on politics, go back to physiognomy. In relation to politics, I guess we'll kind of touch on this a little bit, so you can kind of say your piece on it as well. Because I think if somebody was to look at your channel without knowing who you were and never hearing you speak, they would go, "Oh, this guy's a grouper." So what do you say to that? Are you not? And like, I guess, where do you lie and how involved are you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm actually less right-wing than people would think. I'm not a centrist, but I have like mixed views. So like some things I'm more left-wing, some things I'm more right-wing. I don't like labels at all because I think that's a lot of times people will take a label and instead of being like, oh, this vaguely describes me, they'll be like, I identify with this. My sense of self-worth is attached to this arbitrary label. Therefore, I have to conform myself to everything that comes with that. So I have some mild views. I'm not super political. So there's not a lot of things that I'm super like incensed about. I read a lot of history, so I draw a lot of parallels with that. I'm very interested in historical stuff. So when I see modern stuff going on, it's more of a detached, like Harry Seldon, Oswald Spengler, kind of like these are the processes working out. I would call myself like philosophically a right Hegelian, where I do believe that like, he talks about the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, the world spirit moving things along.
Yeah.
I believe that's just God. Like God has a plan and God is moving things along. I would say maybe I'm like a right-wing progressive. Like that's, if you know who Ubersoy is. He's like a Georgian guy.
I do.
He does
I do follow
Substack on
him.
YouTube. He's pretty cool. He seems smart, very smart, and his big thing is right-wing progressivism, where it's like you don't believe in like returning to some imagined past. You believe in like moving forward and making new things, which I very much believe in. But you also don't want to like burn churches and mass murder, and, like shoot your parents or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to have a certain kind of solution.
Yeah, you're not like a backwards either like a leftist or a reactionary kind of nut job. You're more just solution focused. But
interesting.
Yeah, I actually have a bifurcated audience because physiognomy has appealed to a lot of different groups. So I have a TikTok account, and my audience there is mostly female because TikTok is mostly female.
Right.
And there, it's a lot of girls who are into astrology.
I
Because,
see
of
why
course,
you're doing this now.
yeah. I'm happily married. Happily married.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I've been going for a while. She's been very
I'm
helpful,
just
very
married.
supportive towards all this. Nice.
I'm just
MashaAllah.
I hope she's not watching. Forgive me, I keep interrupting you. I apologize.
No, that's good. That's good. We're just shooting the breeze. But so because of that, they're much more interested in the personality assessment side of it, because it does have a good female appeal, right? Because it's women care about astrology not because they're into like hermeticism or the mysteries of the elements. They're into personality assessments, which I am into. Like that's a more feminine trait of mine, I guess, is that I'm also into like understanding people's personalities and their interpersonal relationships and how they affect each other. It combines that with the beauty world, physical appearance, plastic surgery, makeup. They love the stuff about the nose shape and eye color, hair color, different lips, because it's two things that they're already interested in, and it's combining them. It's like actually physical appearance, the beauty world, and the personality world actually have a big intersection through physiognomy. So that's a big appeal, and that's it's mostly ladies, mostly a lot of astrology types. So it's maybe center left, I would say, mostly just apolitical people. But then on YouTube is mostly male, and so how are men interested in it? More so from an angle of personality assessment as well, but more so looking for human differences, ranking people. Men are very hierarchical, women are egalitarian, sort of elemental, fire and water. If you know your hermeticism, know your Evola, like solar and lunar principles there. Men think in terms of hierarchy and judgment by default, for the most part. And so
structure.
Yeah. And so that's their appeal to them. When you do YouTube, there's this thing called in the industry they call it a bucket, where and you'll see this if you scroll back to the very beginning of certain YouTube channels. Like I think of like you go to like Wang. You know Wang?
No, I do not.
You see Asian guy, heavy metal guy with the long hair. He does videos about like gross internet stories.
Interesting. I've probably seen a clip of him before. I would.
Yeah, I love him. He's awesome. He's a super funny guy. And I remember you scroll back to the very beginning of his channel, and he's doing like all kinds of different sorts of videos, like talking about random things. But then, and they all have like 5,000, 7,000, 1,000 views.
Right.
But then you see a video that has like 100,000 or 200,000 views out of nowhere. And it's about a gross internet story. And so what you do as a YouTuber is you have a general theme, you kind of shotgun for a bit, you see what picks up attention, and then after that you do a bunch of those until it kind of loses traction and then sort of reinvent it. And so my first video to take off was the Sam Hyde reading.
And I've not watched that one yet. I want to.
Yeah. People like that. It got good reception. It was a week late because I uploaded it. I uploaded it. The audio sucked. It was unwatchable. And so I quickly deleted it and I re-recorded it. Took a week to completely remake the video from scratch, and it was totally worth it because it blew up.
Yeah.
Quality matters a lot. Don't sacrifice quality.
Exactly.
But, that blew up, and I thought, okay, I'm bringing for lack of a better word, like a chud audience. Like I don't want to be pigeonholed with that, so I'm going to diversify. So I was like, okay, he's like a YouTube streamer guy. I'm going to do Asmongold next, because they're kind of adjacent. I did a couple celebrities after that, and they didn't get too much traction because celebrities have unique faces, but they're generally pretty boring people. Politicians and world leaders, that's much more interesting. Even like criminals and stuff is more interesting because like trying to find out their dark secrets or whatever. Celebrities is just like, it's a theater kid with a bunch of money. Like that's most actors, most celebrities. They're not that deep. They're
silver spoon. Yeah,
they're weird freaks and perverts, and they do like spirit cooking stuff. Probably whatever.
Like the Righteous Gemstones. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
show?
I've not. I've heard of it.
It was just a bunch of rich people being idiots.
Yeah, and so then I did the Nick video because I was like, you know what, this will be good. This would be it's an interesting person. It's someone that people are interested in, whether they're like his like cultists, or they're like his haters, or they're just like, oh, I saw that guy on Instagram Reels. He's pretty smart.
I get a lot of that too.
That's like average normie. It's like, oh yeah, I see that guy on Reels. He's being pretty smart. Is he like a Democrat or something? But
I love the impression.
But my wife texted me. She said she's sure I'm doing great. I texted her earlier to saying to pray for me for this.
Okay.
But yeah. So, anyways, yeah, the Nick video. I was like, let's, the Sam Hyde audience. I'm sure they'll like that.
Right.
Nick's guys are very online, very fanatical. I'm sure they give it a lot of love, and it worked. And I always make sure to be honest. Like, I never want to glaze anyone. Like with Sam Hyde, like I think some of his stuff is funny, but I was very honest. Like, this guy is a freak. This guy has deep-seated issues. And then with Nick, I was like, this guy has trouble with relationships, and he like crashed out on Keith Woods because he's like too aggressive and he wants to just fight everyone. And he projects. He does hide his power level. He projects this more peaceful, like, I'm just a regular guy with questions image, but his inner self is much more aggressive.
Yeah, we'll go into that a little bit, because you'd mentioned that on the video too, and I think you had mentioned it alongside, I believe it's like middle third of his ear. I'm trying to remember what specific portion that you had suggested that at, but what tell of his makes you think that he's hiding his power level?
It's facial asymmetry mostly. Specifically, if you look at his eyebrows, they're very asymmetrical. So eyebrows tell about decision making, right? So his left eyebrow, so again, inner self, true self, personal life, is very sharply arched. So that shows that he has a strong need for control, very competitive. That's sort of how he's born. Over time, he's gotten a very curved eyebrow on his right side. Now, curved, rounded eyebrow, this is the stereotypical like feminine eyebrow, right? You think about women's beauty standards. That's because that is the eyebrow that shows that someone's decision-making process is oriented towards social consensus and the feelings of others around them. And you also see that the left side of his face is more rectangular, more Martian, the right side more curved, more Venusian. And that combines with his side profile, which like the front, which is like how you first meet people and how you are when you first meet people, how you are intellectually and so on, very sanguine. So very outgoing, optimistic, charismatic, fun-loving. But then his jawline is more choleric. It's very like serious, no nonsense, kind of bossy, commanding, domineering, wanting everything to be their way. And those two things combine so that he has this persona when he first meets people that's very friendly. You see these, all these like dude bro podcasters who have him on, like Bradley Martin was one, I think, if I remember his name correctly. And some other, I don't know all the stuff he's like been on, but I know people have told me he's been like on more shows lately and getting kind of mainstreamed.
Yeah.
And
Sean Kelly was another one.
Sean Kelly, yeah. When they meet him, they supposedly say like, oh, he's way nicer than I would have expected, and you can tell he's very recent on these podcasts. But then when you get him in a more comfortable space, especially in like a long-term space where he's not meeting someone new, he's doing a public thing, but he's not doing like with a new audience. Once it's someone he knows, in this case, the super chatters, right?
Yeah.
People have sent me these clips, and I've seen them on like TikTok and Reels of him just legendary generational crash out on the super chatters. And that's because when you've done it for long enough, super chatter becomes like one person, because your brain can't differentiate because there's no face attached to it. It's just words on a screen or a voice. And so he's very comfortable with the super chatter. So his true self, which is like very aggressive, controlling, commanding, comes out. And I think that's if any of these like people talk about he's not married, he doesn't get married. I don't know, that might be good instincts on his part, because I think if a girl got into a relationship with him, she would find she'd be pretty off-put. by that.
Yeah.
I think like because he would project very like, oh, I'm just a nice guy, very charismatic and stuff. And then once they get in the relationship, he's, you know, I could see him getting pretty aggressive. I could say I don't want to say he'd do anything specific, but
Interesting. And well, I think anybody who's watched him would be able to, who knows him, right? Because for me, like, you know, I've probably watched him for the last like 2-3 years. Watching your analysis, it's like, oh, it's spot on. This guy's absolutely spot on. Like, it's like, yeah, all these things line up with everything I know of how Nick has behaved. And especially when you kind of line it up too with that Keith Woods, the recent beef he had there, as well as many others. You know, that has been kind of one of the top, what would you say? Not accusations, but top
criticisms, points of contention.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I have a guy in a group chat who's like he's gotten into Nick Fuentes recently. I'm pretty neutral, like I said, like I'm like look at things historically, so I see him as like an interesting figure in this like broader rising movement.
Right.
Especially with his longevity, like he's been doing this since like Charlottesville era stuff.
Yes,
and, like, everyone else from that time, like the people you'd see on like CNN and these reports, like who was the guy with the haircut? The like Hitler haircut. He was like, we need to believe in not like I support white identity or whatever. He's from Virginia.
Why can't I think of?
He was the head honcho at Charlottesville.
Yes, is it Gavin? Is that who I'm thinking of?
No, he was like Gavin adjacent. Gavin McInnes was the vice guy. He did Proud Boys.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, just he was like the leader of the alt-right.
I guarantee somebody knows in chat. Who is he talking about? Why can I not remember?
He's a big fruitcake.
Richard Spencer?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dickie Spencer.
Dude.
Yeah.
I could not. I knew I could see him. I could not think of his name, and I'm like, bro, please, like, brain work.
Yeah, that freak.
Yeah. Richard
so like
Spencer.
he's from like he and like all those other guys who were like at Charlottesville running people over with cars or whatever happened there. Like that they all crashed out, but he's like still standing. So that's kind of what interested me is like this guy's gone through several phases of like American radical politics, and he's still a player in it, even after like, you know, people like Owen Benjamin totally crashed out, fell off the face of the earth, all these other guys.
Well, that's what's insane. I'm glad that you brought up Owen Benjamin, because you had mentioned that earlier about how if something's been around for a long time, that kind of is a tell that it's going to continue to be around for a long time. And one of the recent people I interviewed, Zeb Boykin, he's from the outside the Overton. He's talked about Owen Benjamin because Owen Benjamin, I follow loosely just because he's still he's got still a solid following. But exactly how you said, like I had long thought Owen Benjamin has been out of the movement, out of the spotlight for a long time, but I still catch him as videos coming across my feed, 400 likes, 700 likes. Like he's not prominent, but he was prominent so much to a point that he's kind of permanently imprinted himself on the internet, where his like his caricature is like will exist forever almost. And now it might get diminuted in size, but it's still always going to be there somewhat. And so that kind of to me was like, you know, it's wild to see him crashing out still in 2025. And it's like, do people still listen to this guy? And it's like, maybe they're all hate watchers at this point.
Maybe. I do remember he started the Sigma male thing. Before that was a meme, he like did that seriously. That was funny.
Yeah.
Lots of freaks out there on the internet, but and we love it because I can analyze them for YouTube clicks.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, that's Nick's thing. Nick's analysis blew up, and then you go with the bucket thing. So I try to go off of what like the top comments say. And so I did. After that, I did Epstein, which was a big hit. There's people like that.
Yeah.
I like doing that one too. It was really interesting because obviously it was topical. He does just have a weird face. Like he's got this weird demonic smile. He's got that like Harry Potter mark in the middle of his forehead, that super deep crease.
Yeah, he's got the that Thanos kind of look, like very strong chin, prominent forehead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he looks like an alien.
Yeah.
So just like total complete freak. Then of course,
right.
you got to get it out of the way. Like Hitler, of course.
Yeah.
You got to hit the big ones. So like Hitler and Jesus, like back to back, I just get like the two most famous people in history out of the way.
To balance it out.
Yeah, well, it's like the meme with it's the meme of the kid walking towards the castles, and there's like the good one and the evil one.
Yeah.
And I had to do like a yin
Yeah.
yang balance of like light and darkness, good and evil.
Right.
But I yeah, going forward, I just kind of go off what the comments say, and
Yeah.
try to just trawl those for what people suggest.
So do you feel like you're in a bucket right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling that I'm working off that bucket of celebrity readings. Once I get to like a steady place with it, I want to branch out to more topic videos.
Yeah.
So like I want to do videos on phenotypes. I have one about the alpinid phenotype. I want to do one on like all the phenotypes. I
Yeah.
want to do general informative videos about physiognomy. I'm thinking of starting a Patreon, and then because a lot of people ask me, do you have like a course where you can train us? I'm thinking of doing a Patreon,
Interesting.
and then I make like physiognomy tutorial videos and put it all on there, so that's like the paid course. So instead of having to have this like full like separate like login to like Hustlers University, like Andrew Tate's thing.
Yeah, right.
Instead of having my own separate course, just put it on a Patreon, and then you can like pay the $10-15 however much, and then get access to it, and then if you want to stay subscribed so you can see new stuff or whatever, maybe have that. So
Yeah.
that's in the works.
That's awesome.
I think I want to do live streams as well of my own, where people they can request readings of certain people based on super chats. So
Oh, you would probably rake in money if you even did that on TikTok Live, or you did it on YouTube even, and you just sat there and somebody was like, all right, someone send me a photo, and you're able to pull it on screen and have it just sit there and then like read off like a photo. Because like it's probably pretty easy for most of these people to just send you their profile picture on TikTok, then just read it live there. That'd be you probably make quite a bit of money doing that, especially because that one comment somebody said it's like it's like astrology for men. like that cracked me up.
I get that all the time.
It makes sense, like I'm not trying to drive by you now, but it's I did find it a little funny.
No, I mean that's
Go ahead.
That's true. Actually, I will impugn myself. I will self-incriminate a little on that. One of the books I use as a source is The Astrological Body Types by Judith Hill. It was recommended to me by Chris Gabriel from Meme Analysis. If you've ever seen that YouTube channel, he was really big like 2020, 2021.
Okay. No, I'm not familiar.
So it was like lessons in meme culture for people with an IQ above room temperature. And Meme Analysis, he's a big psychology guy and a big symbolism guy. He looks similar to Jonathan Pageau. They both have like the esoteric symbolism physiognomy. They both have a Neptune face. And
Which is the prophet, right?
yeah, the prophet archetype. But Meme Analysis, Chris is he's super into Jung and Freud, and so he would analyze memes, like the mommy GF meme, of course, from a Freudian angle, but also including stuff from Jung. These like deep dive things where he goes into like fundamental human esoteric meaning of memes, where he's like, this meme shows us that the collective unconscious is not ready for the internet. Old archetypes are reemerging, and he's very dramatic. And so he's also into like the spooky stuff, like tarot, astrology, and he recommended that to me, and I got it, and it is actually a great face reading, like physiognomy resource.
Yeah.
Because it has 3 levels of correlation. It gives you the physical appearance, then it gives you the description of the type, and that's actually like the face shapes and their personalities given in that book are totally in line with what's said in here.
Interesting.
But then she correlates it with astrological types, or with astrology signs. But her get out of jail free card is she has like a 13-point list of like ways a planet or astrological sign can affect a personality. So she's like, if it's your sun sign, if it's your moon sign, if it's your rising sign, if its ruling planet is in your sun sign. And so basically there's like plausible deniability where like if someone has the Mars personality and they're not like in Aries, like, so like, you know, the warrior archetype, the Mars personality like Nick has, she has that same appearance and that same description, and actually an even more thorough description of that personality type in her book, but she calls it the Aries, right? But then if someone has that and they're not in Aries, she's like, you know, in theory, she could be like, or someone who does that from an astrology angle could be like, but your Neptune in Virgo is square to Aries or whatever. So
yeah, gives them an extra angle to just to dive in on.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the astrology stuff that I have looked into it because I try to look into all the personality type systems. Like I know Myers-Briggs, I know a little bit of Enneagram. Physiognomy is of course my main thing.
Right.
But whenever I look into astrology, it's so vague in general. I just don't know about. And I do like, you know, I have obviously a lot of followers who are into astrology. I've had like professional astrologers from like Australia and stuff. Like I've exchanged correspondence with them talking about personality stuff from like 2 different angles. So not to poo-poo it, I think there's maybe more to it than people think, but I'm not gonna like hitch my carts to that anytime soon. I haven't seen it. The proof is not. It's not like with physiognomy where you do have peer-reviewed studies proving physiognomy with the AI facial recognition stuff, where it's like we were able to successfully identify in 80% of cases somebody's personality based on this. You know, there's this I mentioned this in one of my videos about just the introduction to physiognomy. There's this French, he's Quebecois photographer, and he got together doppelgangers from around the world. So he finds 2 people from totally different places that happen to look alike.
Yeah.
And he found they all have like very similar personalities with their doppelgangers. And you could find, if you look up doppelgangers, shared genetics, shared personality, you can find a lot of articles talking about this where scientists researched it and they found that the people coincidentally had the similar lineup of genes, which caused the similar personalities and the similar appearances, which is like, that's physiognomy right there.
Yeah.
That's the essence of it.
Well, there's kind of like, I guess what I would say too, I think when I think about it, just generally, I kind of think about a lot of these things, whether it's astrology or physiognomy or, you know, any of the different, you know, I guess, you know, people would call them pseudosciences. There's a reason for why I think it was prominent and why people used it. Clearly, it had some level of benefit, which is why it maintained some level of relevancy this far, you know, into the future. But I wanted to go to a couple of super chats though. We're going to catch up.
Let's get them.
One
Yeah.
that I missed. He made sure that I saw it. He said, "Do you ever plan to do a reading of yourself?" But I believe you already have.
I mentioned it in my Nick video, like a little drive-by of like, you know, here's a little bit of my side profile. I was thinking of doing that for like a 10,000 subscriber special. I said that to somebody like in a comment, and that was back when I expected my 10,000 to hit 10,000 subscribers in like 6 months. So I was like, put that off. Now it looks like it's going to be in like a week. Yeah. So
That's
maybe
funny.
I'll renege on that promise and make it like 50,000 subscriber special, or just do it. I plan on it.
Yeah.
My thing with it was not that like I don't want people to know my physiognomy. My face is out there. Like it's on all my stuff.
Right. Somebody else can
TikTok
read
and videos. Look at my face. You can look at my stuff, watch my videos, you know, learn what all the features mean, then look at me and assess me. I'm an open book because you can see my face.
That's
It
interesting.
was more of a thing of before I got any traction. Like I didn't want to start off with that, right? Because like you start off with the interesting people that everyone knows. So it's like Jeffrey, you know, I started with the more chud figures because I wanted to get people who knew what physiognomy was, who knew the term physiognomy from Twitter or whatever.
Right.
Right-wing adjacent kind of guys, the chuds, the memers, people that they would know about. So like, and would be interested in. So Sam Hyde, Asmongold, Nick Fuentes, do a bunch of influencers and streamers.
Yeah.
now I'm just going for more generally famous people. So again, Adolf Hitler and Jesus Christ, like it's the two most controversial, famous, high-profile people in history. So
Yeah.
old reliable right there. You know, you do Donald Trump.
Hitler content always does well.
People like it. It's he has a Jung and Kennedy both separately wrote. He has this like very strange magnetism that was very intentionally. It was somewhat inborn, but it was very intentionally cultivated. If you look into the history, there's a book on magic that he did own, and you can buy his version, which they say like has his notes in it. It doesn't have any notes. It has his underlining and highlighting, and it talks about how you need to have channel demonic power to like fascinate and like draw people in. And that's like I've looked into that. That's not just like one of those like weird wartime propaganda rumors. Like he only had one nut. He was secretly gay and Jewish or whatever.
Right.
Because he was.
Think about any kind of villain, the way that they're drawn generally is like a very magnetic, charismatic, albeit not in like a traditional golden retriever kind of sense, but in like a darker, more vampirical kind of sense where it's like it will draw in some people. Not to say like Hitler had vampire energy, but the general kind of villains that they draw out have this kind of cool, like bad boy kind of energy.
The most intimidating one is the one who has magnetism and is like a parallel to the good one, right? Like Hitler and Gandhi actually had very similar physiognomies in a lot of aspects, but they used them in different regards. The lower level guys who are less of a high level threat and more of just an immediate physical threat, you portray them like Mussolini, right? Mussolini was like a big thug. He had like this like modern art style home gym and pool in his like palace, because he was like a big fitness guy. Hitler did not. Hitler was like a weird nerd, and there's all the memes, right, of like Hitler meets Mussolini, and Mussolini's like, hey, I cooked a pizza, and Hitler's like, I am possessed by an ancient Aryan spirit, and Mussolini's like,
Mussolini's like within me.
Mussolini's like, bro, did you just mention Agartha in front of the hose? So Hitler was like the archetypal like scaring the hose, like weird nerd. Mussolini was just like a very regular dictator.
He's very boxy too, like a very boxy, like
a very Martian, like naturally warlike. Like that's the look. That's the physiognomy of like everyone who's ruled Italy, basically from the Romans down to the Medicis and through him. The mafia, Tony Soprano types. Like Italians, I think by nature just want to be ruled by like a big thug, but a cultured thug. Mussolini was very much a cultured thug. People don't know this. He was a big modern art fan. He was not dumb, I don't think. Pretty brutal and straightforward, and cunning. He would do anything, to sort of get in power and get in charge.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of
like
these artistic sensibilities. So I'd love to do a reading on him too, like all these great figures of history. Like I'm going to do him. I'm going to do Stalin and FDR, Lenin. Lenin, I would love to do ones on after me. Comments I get all the time. This is kind of bad. Not kind of bad. It is bad. I get a ton of comments on my TikTok and now YouTube, like constantly saying, you look like Charles Manson. You look like Charles Manson. So I guess if I believe in physiognomy, right, like I should start a cult, I guess. I should.
You got the power.
I was going to bring up on here, I do physiognomy, but I've been listening to a lot of Beatles records, and they are sending me secret messages about the coming race war, so we're going to find out. But like him, Lenin as well, because of the facial hair.
Right.
So I'll have to analyze both of them at some point.
How similar am I to Lenin?
Yeah.
You have to. And I think it's a good idea. I think you're spot on with the mindset of like when to do your special, because obviously your like most ardent subscribers are going to like obviously enjoy that a lot. So you probably do want to save that until you get to like that 50K or 100K and then drop it.
I want to be like recognizable enough, right? Where it's like, I've been on a few podcasts like 50K, 100K. I don't want to just be the physiognomic analysis. Some chud, some rando.
Yeah, well, it was just a random guy doing a face reading up right now. I did have another super chat.
Go ahead.
Looks like Titan said, all your base is aliens. I think that's what it said. I got one from Zeb, actually Zeb Boykin. Shout out to Zeb Boykin. He does host the Outside the Overton podcast. He says, send him my way. So I'll just shoot you over Zeb's details afterwards if you want.
Yeah, sure.
As well. He's doing Zeb's physiognomy would be phenomenal because he looks like General Robert E. Lee. Like he looks like he served in the Confederacy. So you'd have a good time with that.
That's real. I've gotten that a few times before from guys in my college. I have it waxed, but I used to have it waxed, my mustache waxed more like this.
Oh, twisted up.
And when I had the longer hair, I do have. I'll out myself a little bit. I'm old stock, originally old stock Virginian. So like pre-Revolutionary War, Virginian planter ancestry. My line is mostly in Alabama, and I do have a Confederate veteran ancestor.
Interesting.
He was not a general or anything. He was one of those like dirt poor Appalachian farmers who like joined up for the signing bonus.
Yeah,
and,
he wanted to get his $25 stipend.
Yeah, which is like more money than any of them had ever seen in their lives, right? But
right. Now you see a lot of those like older films, the way they show the recruiting, they just like pull up with wagons and say, hey, you want to get in? We're paid. They give you $10 when you make it to the base. All right, sounds good. I'm in. I got nothing better going on.
Looking at old like Civil War stuff, you do see there are like older physiognomies and older phenotypes, and you can see them in old photos, right? Like you see the way that Americans look in these 1800 photos, like the pioneers, very hardened faces. They've got not just like because they've got tanned, leathery skin or whatever because they've been outside a bunch, but there's just a different look. A while ago, somebody on Twitter sent me a picture of like the compilation of all the you heard of that the Patriot Front thing?
Yeah, with Thomas.
Those guys all got like arrested, and their mugshots were all released. And someone was like, "Yo, can you analyze this?" And I said, what stands out to me is that they all have like a very old physiognomies. Like you could take these photos, these people, make it sepia tone, make it black and white, and they would fit right in the Old West or in the Civil War.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. It's like a revolt of like the lower class old stock Americans, like the Ulster Scots, the Irish, those sorts of people. And so that is something like you can see physiognomies have changed over time. There's like this meme where it's like, I hate seeing this or that actress in a period piece. I look at her face and I just know that she knows what an air fryer is. And some of that is modern plastic surgery and makeup, but I do think as our lifestyle has gotten more sedentary, as we're not selecting for physical activity much evolutionarily, I think our physiognomy and our appearance is getting softer. And you can still find people who look like Old West pioneers, ranchers, and Civil War veterans in the mountains and hollers and trailer parks of this nation. They're still there, and a lot of them are on meth.
Yeah, in Appalachia. You know, one thing that was crazy, because you were talking about the softening of the face, and one of the big things they talk about for the lower third is because we eat a lot more processed food, so our use for our jaws is like, it's rapidly declining, and so that's why you see that meme photo of like that guy's chin that's almost like inverted, like up inside of his face, because we're eating a lot more like smoothies and you're drinking a lot more instead of like actually eating and having to chew through your food, like with a lot of hard meats, changing of diets and stuff. And you can just see it. You can see the shrinking of the jawline doesn't need to be as prominent because you need less bone because you don't need to generate the same amount of power to bite down. Yeah,
you got to get braces and stuff.
Right, exactly. I have two more super chats. The one, I don't know what it means, but Titan said I ended my doppelganger's life. I'm rooting for you, Titan.
That might be a reference to like a book or an anime. I'm not sure. That feels familiar.
Interesting.
But yeah, next one.
And the next one is from Caffeine and Diesel. And thank you guys for the super chats. Appreciate it very much. He says, can we get a quick read on Rabbi Shmuley or Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk, I will not do a reading on because you may be getting a full length video on YouTube about that. I
Okay.
don't know.
So Rabbi
Stay
Shmuley, I'll
tuned.
go pull
Trust
him
the
up.
plan. Rabbi Shmuley, yeah.
You would
So he's
actually
pretty-
probably do really well with the video on him, to be honest, too.
Yeah, he's I'm trying to I would do something about him in a while, because
Oh yeah, doing it right now.
I want to diversify. Like, I don't want to pigeonhole into like the chud topic. So it's like him, Candace Owens, like, I want to find more people who are like interesting, but not necessarily like just like modern politics people.
Well, you do one on
So
him,
his-
that you'll be on the ADL watch list. So you're right. You
Yeah.
probably should hold off.
Yeah, and like I know a bit about him. He doesn't interest me that much. Like, he seems like a pretty generic Reform Judaism guy. Like, I've heard about his books and stuff before.
With
Like
his,
his one where it's
but he sells sex toys with his daughter.
yeah. I'd heard about his book that like preceded that, where it's like you have to cultivate lust in a marriage. It's like very un-Catholic thing, but I mean that makes
Yep.
sense. But he's actually like, it seems fairly inoffensive to me, right? Like, he's almost like a token. I feel like he's kind of like a token Jew, where he's like the
Fair.
liberal, palatable, like token rabbi. That's why he hobnobs with all these celebrities. People are like, how does Rabbi Shmuley know all these celebrities or go to all these things? I
Yeah.
think it's just because he's a TED Talk rabbi is what he is. So he has like his main
He looks
message is
good on
like
my
generic. Yeah. Generic tolerance, peace, love kind of guy. And so celebrity can come with him and be like, see, I like all. So they have a guy like him. There's like, I can't name any off the top of my head, but they're like priests and imams who are like this as well. You know, like the Dalai Lama, Father James Martin or whatever. You have these like very liberal, friendly religious leaders that they bring out to be like, look at how inclusive and tolerant we all are. So,
Right.
but to
Well,
him,
What's the thing with the facial hair? That'd be my first question. Because that's like the most noticeable thing about him is the wispiness and the outgrowth of his facial hair. Is
Yeah.
that like a distinctually like Jewish like trait?
it's more just a it's just a Semitic thing. So there's a few things like when I visited Arabia, and then you come back to America, you notice that there's a lot of things. A lot of Jews just look like pale Arabs. Like, once you know Arabs and you've met Arabs, you go back to America and you meet a Jewish guy and you're like, he looks Arab, but he's like too light, like he's got red hair or something. And you realize, oh, he's Jewish, right? And Arabs can have red hair. Like, I knew a Syrian guy who had red hair.
Well, yeah. Well, a lot of people don't realize like the history and like how darkly it got browned just before the Crusades through that
Yeah,
area.
because of the Islamic invasions. I
Right.
touch on that in the Jesus video, but
Oh yeah, you
um,
did actually. Yeah, and shout out to you for that.
yeah. But he like, obviously there's the convex curved nose, which is found in that general shape somewhat throughout the whole Middle East. It's at its strongest in Anatolia among Armenians and Turks. So I see a lot of times these images that these like chud anti-Semite types will use for like, this is a Jew, and you know, it's the guy with the giant nose. It's an Armenian guy. That's a Christian. That's your guy. So
Interesting.
that's the Kardashians all had nose jobs because of that, because they're Armenian. So they all had their like, you know, 4/5
Yeah.
of their nose chopped off because, you know, by nature they're big-nosed Armenians, which is, you know, not hating. I think Armenians are very gorgeous people. There's a reason why the Kardashians are popular.
Right.
But I think they forewent their natural beauty for something a little more artificial.
And
but
what would the snub nose be? Like the shorter nose? Is that like Alpinid, Nordic?
the snub nose, yeah, it's generally Alpinid. It's general like Cro-Magnon thing. So Alpinid, some Nordid. A lot of Eastern Europeans as well.
Yeah.
Like Slavs, Russians, Poles. The more south you get in Europe, at least, the more you get a longer nose. But
What about the hooked nature then? What does that kind of tell? 'Cause
So-
that's kind of like an added element beyond like just a big
Yeah.
nose.
so a convex curved nose stands for, there we go. It stands for passion and sensitivity. I would say that you have this nose shape. Because
Interesting.
you do find
Okay.
it in like Europeans. So you have that general shape. So these people like, kind of lead with rich passions. They feel very strongly, feel a little more sensitive. This is in contrast to people with like a straight nose. So myself, I would have a straight nose.
Yeah. Okay. So
They
you're
have
saying
more
mine's
of
a bit more curved.
Yeah, and it
Interesting.
can be a subtle difference, but a straight nose is more like cool-headed and rational, where they're a little less passionate, a little more like detached. They aren't like driven by these like rich inner feelings so much as like kind of a cool, detached analysis. They call this the Greek nose, and the Greeks were like
Interesting.
very detached and cold and philosophical. The Roman nose, which is a separate thing, it's like the projecting eagle beak-shaped nose
Yeah.
that has that sharp arch to it. That's like a concrete nose. And the curved nose, I call it the Egyptian nose to try and fit that, because Greek and Roman nose, that's already an established thing.
Right.
To fit that dynamic, I call it that. And you see that it's very prominent in the Middle East, which is where all of our magical traditions come from. Any sort of ceremonial magic that comes out of Egypt or
Yeah.
Judaism, our world religions come out of that region, right? Judaism, Islam, Christianity.
Right.
And so you see that with him. He shows that off very strongly. Not all Jews have that nose, of course. I talked about that in the Jeffrey Epstein video. Very diverse people. You can't lump them all into one sort of look. But he does have more of this older Arab kind of look. Like this is a face that you might have seen walking around first century Judea,
That's
he's-
crazy.
And he has heavier eyelids too. That's another thing that Arabs have very much so. In face reading, thicker eyelids like that stand for a need for intimacy and connection. If you have thinner eyelids, or especially if you have hooded eyes, you're much more independent and less needy for that intimacy and connection. And so that's a lot of Asians and especially a lot of white people, well, especially like Northern Europeans. Like the most extreme case are like Swedes. Swedes are bastards. Swedes are so, not to curse, but they're so like cold.
funny.
You go to Sweden, and I've never been. I'm speaking totally spiritually here, but I've heard stories. You go to Sweden or the Netherlands, and like they have like I forget the name of it. There's like a Venmo equivalent app in Europe, and they'll charge you like 0.5 euros for like if you have a glass of water at their house. And if you're staying at someone's house in Sweden,
What? They charge you water if you stay over?
if you're like a guest in their house,
Dude, that's okay.
and if you're staying
We
in
don't
someone's
claim
house in
those
Sweden,
rights.
yeah, if you're staying in someone's house in Sweden, they'll be like, and this isn't all of them, of course, some are plenty hospitable, but they'll be like, hey, we're gonna have dinner, and here, in America, especially in the South or in Italy or somewhere, I'd be like, oh, great, I'm real hungry. No, in Sweden, it's, hey, we're gonna have dinner. You can stay in your room until we're done, because it's like you're not welcome, and it's not even like a
That's
hostile thing. It's
wild.
just because they're all autistic, like the northern, like Scandinavian, like pasty Northern Europeans. Like the cold has just made them like frigid and autistic, and so because of that, they can build like very neat little machines. They can like invent Minecraft and Lego. Very telling.
Interesting.
Okay, Minecraft is Swedish, Lego is Danish.
So you're saying
Scandinavian autism is very powerful.
that the reason why that they're having all these developments with like AI and no cashiers at checkout isn't because they're a high trust society. It's because they're all autistic and don't want to talk to each other.
Yeah, that's the combination. They're high trust. They are high trust, but they're not like open and friendly. Like it's like a good fences make good neighbors situation, where they're like each doing their own thing, and like nobody wants like attention or anything. They don't want to, say hi on the street. Arabs are the opposite because they have very thick, and it's not because of the eyelid. The eyelid is like an indicator of that type, right? So you go to Morocco and everyone's got these thick upper eyelids, and everyone is like, Assalamu alaikum, habibi, and they want to shake hands. They want to, like, you pass by them in a hallway
Yeah.
within like within an hour. Like you just saw them 30 minutes ago and they still want to say hi. And so Shmuly's got that. The last thing I'll say on him, then we can move on because we're getting close to time.
Yes, sir.
I got pork chops waiting for me. He has those, but he has deep set eyes. And so that shows that he is pretty calculating. He thinks before he speaks. He plans out what he's going to say. And that's good for like a public figure, public speaker, kind of thing. The opposite, if we'll compare him with another member of the tribe, Rodney Dangerfield, one of my favorite comedians, great comedian, I love using him as an example because he's very archetypal of like Jewish sensibilities in both personal characteristic and like the Jewish American experience. It's very interesting to me because it's this like neurotic, like outsider feeling where it's like, I tell you, I get no respect at all. People don't respect me. Yeah. And then you watch his movies, you watch Caddyshack, and it's, what is it? He goes to a country club. He's a nouveau riche rich guy, or Caddyshack or Back to School. In both cases, he's either going to a country club or an Ivy League school, both of which are like, those are the two classic WASP institutions.
Yeah, right.
He's a nouveau riche self-made entrepreneur, but he's like this crass bore, and he doesn't get social cues, and he's like, he's cracking all these inappropriate jokes.
Yeah.
And that's the Jewish experience in America. If you want to understand, actually understand Jewish people and not this like weird, again, chud anti-Semitism thing where it's like, my cereal was soggy this morning because the Jews pissed in it. Like, watch Caddyshack.
I said
Back
that
to
this
School.
morning, actually.
That's true. They did. Rabbi Shmuel did actually piss my cereal this morning, but that's unrelated.
I would believe it if you said Rabbi Shmuley. I don't like that guy.
It'd be weird. But watch Back to School, watch Caddyshack, and watch Meet the Parents with Ben Stiller. That's why Jews have like this like defense reaction with like them or like Israel, because they're always conscious of like being on the outside. Like it starts real young, where it's like, Dad, all the other kids, can we have a Christmas tree? All the other kids have a Christmas tree. It's like, no, we're not Christian. We can't have a Christmas tree. And then from there, it's this whole complex of being the outsider. And Shmuley's one of those guys. I think he has a strong need for intimacy, but he's also like calculated and very clearly intelligent. He has that reverse trapezoid Jupiter face shape too, so he's naturally jovial and outgoing. He wants to like befriend people. So I think he's trying to like bridge. Naturally, he does want to bridge that gap. I don't see him as a disingenuous person, not even necessarily an evil person. I think he genuinely believes that like by selling sex toys, he can like make people's marriages better. Like it's misguided, but I don't see him as like, I'm gonna make them addicted to porn or whatever they think. So that's my read on it. Is I see him as like, he's got this outsider perspective. He wants to connect to the mainstream. He wants to, I would see him, and he probably seems more like an assimilationist sort of guy, where he likes being Jewish, he likes being a rabbi, he wants to keep that, but he wants them to belong to the liberal American mainstream. That's the important part. He doesn't want to assimilate to like traditional WASP culture. He wants to, he's a liberal. I think he's like a genuine liberal. There's not that much insidious to it. He's like, because like most rabbis are liberal. The Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox are a tiny minority. Most of them don't believe like the Talmud or even the Torah. A lot of them will be like a lot of Christian priests and pastors and theologians are always like, God is just a feeling, whatever. So.
Yeah, well, I probably have many layers worse of an opinion of him, but I do agree that I don't think he's like there's nothing about him in particular that's like, he's no mastermind by any means. Like I don't pick that up from him at all. I just think that consequentially with him being in the public, and then you do see like all these what's it called? You see everything that's happening. You see obviously the rising movement on the right, and then you see this guy selling butt plugs online. I think it kind of fits. It kind of fits the trope, but I don't think he's a mastermind by any means. But I do think he's not a good person. But we'll move away from Rabbi Shmuley. I had a couple more come in. Let's see. The Cypher's Basement says, this is the best stream yet. Prosopa Analyze Atlas. He did a little bit actually already. Cypher, he came in a little bit late. I don't want him to not call me black, so we're going to avoid that. Then Zeboy considered Jonathan Greenblatt versus Stephen Miller. They are actually pretty similar. But
They do. They have a similar sort of look. I'll touch on that a bit because again,
Yeah.
I gotta lay up in a bit. I got pork chops.
I know I don't
waiting
eat
for me.
food, cold food.
Yeah. They do have a similar look. Some of it is just they're bald. Some of it is just like a Armenoid, Mediterranean kind of phenotype. But very long noses, so very like big thinkers. And they have more protruding eyes, if I remember correctly, more bulging eyes. So they speak more off the cuff. They're more apt to like blurt things out. So like Stephen Miller is this like big, he's a big showman, right? Like he loves to make these big statements about we're going to deport 20 billion illegal immigrants.
Yeah, right.
And then Jonathan Greenblatt, he's a pretty open guy. So I see him as actually, even though he's not a rabbi, he's nominally a secular liberal figure. He seems more like a Jewish identitarian and like a Jewish partisan than Rabbi Shmuley is. I see Rabbi Shmuley as like a liberal playing up his Jewishness, and I see Jonathan Greenblatt as a very devoted Jew playing up his liberalism. Because I saw someone sent me a clip of him. He was talking about Jewish identity, and he was like, "I'm very concerned that the intermarriage rates are up," and it's like, bro, like, and to be fair, like I'm from Alabama. I had friends who went to Wallace State University, as in George Wallace, as in Mr. Segregation Today, Segregation Forever.
Yeah.
So it's nothing new to me, but it's like out in the open like that. Like you're supposedly this big liberal guy, and you're like, the intermarriage, ooh, the race mixing, that's not good. Like, whoa.
Well, that's kind of in line with where my thinking is at too, which is you do see a lot of that, which I think drives again the bigger movement, which is behind Nick, which is it's clearly one way for Israel, a whole different way for how America should behave itself, right? And so I think people kind of take from that
the double standard.
Yeah, and they look at that and they go, okay, clearly this guy feels one way about his home state, but not about us. What's the give here? But you're right, we're about out of time. I wanted to make sure I could give you a chance to say anything that we didn't cover, anything that I might have missed, anything you want to shout out.
Let me look at I think we covered a lot. Yeah, pretty much everything there. I don't know. I think I covered a lot. As you probably noticed, I'm a very rambly, tangential person.
You're good.
In Myers-Briggs terms, I'm an ENTP, so I lead with that extrovert intuition. So I make connections a lot, very quickly and easily. So like you bring up one thing, and it's like instantly like 10 other points pop up that I can draw it all together.
Drawing the line. Yeah. I get it.
I've always wanted the core chord with the red string. Like someday I'm gonna have it and like actually put it up somewhere.
Yeah.
My background.
I have a digital one. I can show you how to do it online.
Nice. That might be good, but I don't even want it to like use it for anything practical. I want it as a prop.
I get it.
Even as a little kid, I wanted that. I was big into like paranormal conspiracy theories. Like, I love Bigfoot and stuff, which it kind of drew me to like this, like the fringe science.
I'm gonna solve.
I would say my concluding statement: physiognomy is real. You already know it's real. You already do physiognomy subconsciously, and intuitively. You get general, vague impressions from people, but you don't know why you're feeling that. You don't know exactly what's going on. And so by studying physiognomy, by analyzing physiognomy, and by going deep with it, you can get a much more exact view of people, right? You can really fill in the details on those general vague impressions that you get. And that's been my mission, is to learn that myself and spread that knowledge to people, like get that out to people and be like, hey, if you feel this way about this person, here's some reasons why that might be. Or if you have this feature, and another thing for me is I do want to make people feel better about their appearance. I'm an anti-looks maxer in that sense. I'm not a black pillar where I'm like, someone's like, oh, I don't have a giant protruding chin. I have like a little recessed chin. Well, most great artists have like the little recessed chins. That's a melancholic chin. So if you want to be like a good musician, like who are the best musicians, right? Like actually, and not talking about like, like nowadays, right?
Right.
I'll say best. By best, I mean who are my favorite musicians, right? Les Claypool from Primus and Tom York from Radiohead, right? And so had they been looks maxers, had they added like giant chin implants, they wouldn't have had. I think it's a two-way street personally. There's a lot of debate. That's one of the big contentious topics in face reading is like, does plastic surgery change your personality?
Yeah.
I think it does. But I think like
That's
look, they have
crazy.
that naturally. They have that physiognomy naturally. That kind of recessed chin, chud kind of look, and um, because of that, I think that actually led to their sensitivity and their strength. And it's the same thing with like thick eyebrows. Like I've always had thick eyebrows. Well, thick eyebrows stand for intense energy and a strong store of physical energy and stamina. I mean, you look at Arabs and Turks and how they're just very physical people, great warriors, very passionate. You look
Right.
at people with thin eyebrows, like Chinese or Swedes. They're much more reserved,
Right.
laid back, uh, cool-headed. Not so passionate, more refined there. So any sort of feature you have, by and large, there's a way you can work it to your advantage. And if you know like what it means, like again, a big nose, long nose, that can actually stand for a pretty strong intellect. So
Interesting. Well, that's perfect because it basically sounds like you're saying taking this feeling that most people can't articulate when they see somebody, and you're teaching them how they can understand it, decipher it, and articulate it to go. That's why I felt that way when I saw this person. It's probably
yeah,
because they had some kind of giveaway. It's something they could have
that's
read
why
in
you
there
got to know
too.
this stuff.
Yeah, no. So I want to say again, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it very much. The biggest guest I've had so far. And in
Appreciate
your
that.
words, always judge a book by its cover. Appreciate all the super chats as well, everybody. And again, we'll be keeping this up as we move on forward. I have some really cool names coming up. You guys will be very excited for that. And maybe I'll still stay in my Nick Fuentes bucket. Who knows? We'll see what happens at the upcoming news.
I will say and maybe I could say this after. I'll say it now. I think a lot of people would be interested to see more of your own stuff. Like talk about what Nick's saying, but maybe try branching out because I think you have a lot of interesting stuff to say, and I
appreciate that.
I think you would have a more reliable YouTube future, not just in terms of like not getting banned, but in terms of like drawing people in. If it was like you branch out into your own takes, like the Nick stuff is doing good, and you're getting a lot of views and a lot of momentum with that. But I would say because YouTube, people follow for the personalities, right? Like they'll Alternate History Hub starts a channel where he talks about Michael Bay movies, and it's like 5 million views a video because people just like him.
Right. Yeah.
And it seems like people like you. Like you've got fans, and you're a very personable guy.
I appreciate that, man. Thank
You've got the deep voice. You're not like me. You don't.
That helps me the most, probably.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
That's impressive. So you can pull, and it's it's good because you're already showing your face. It's not like a corpse husband situation where people find out you're not actually a handsome, rakish anime goth boy, and you're just a guy.
Well, what's funny is I actually got covered by a couple larger creators recently because my videos have been taken off. And one of the guy's comments, which I add in the intro, people will hear it in the outro here in a second, is he's like, "What is this, alt-right corpse's husband?" I was like, that's perfect for the intro. I'm going to use that.
Alt-right corpse husband. Rocks.
But I do appreciate it. And this is something I've been thinking about for a while. Well, I say it for a while, but for the last few weeks, because I too don't want to pigeonhole myself as like a Nick orbiter. Because you are right. Like I do ultimately, I enjoy making my own content. I enjoy doing the live streams and the shows. And my goal is to build it to that. It's kind of like, you got to strike with the iron's hot. And I think I'm going to try to ride this until that starts to lose traction. And then hopefully from there, we'll make that pivot.
That's what you do. Once the momentum starts to die, and you pivot to something adjacent and related. And and I would say, talk to more people. Try to reach out to. There's lots of good people kind of adjacent. A friend of mine is really big into Pete Quinones. And you ever heard of him?
No.
He's good. He was a libertarian guy. So my friend he's like an ex-libertarian, and he loves Pete Quinones. And Pete Quinones got red pilled heavy in 2020 because he saw that libertarianism wouldn't work with the COVID lockdowns.
Right.
But he does. I saw a video of his talking about Sigmund Freud, like Freud's early life, and like the traumas that he had that influenced his theories. It was freaky.
Interesting.
But
if you have anybody you think I should have a conversation with, I'm all game.
I mean, I think he's not a Nick hater. He's like he's on. The thing is, he and like the people he runs with, they're kind of Twitter addicts. They're on Twitter a lot.
Yeah.
And so during the election, he was like a big like golden age believer.
Yeah.
Like
Golden
in 2024,
age.
in 2024, his intro was like an AI picture of like liberals in the crystal. If you remember that meme.
Yeah. Get in the crystal.
But he's not coping. He's a smart guy, from what I've seen. Like when Trump like struck Iran with the Epstein thing, he was like, okay, Trump works for Netanyahu. Like the golden age is not happening. So he's not coping. All that to say, like that's the only thing I could think is like you being, because he was much more like a traditional MAGA guy, and I know Nick like kind of went to war against that side last year, got a lot of heat for that.
Especially this last year.
But he seems like a pretty open-minded guy, so that's the only person I know because my friend watches him, who's kind of in this sphere. I don't watch much politics stuff, but I think he talks to a lot of different people from a lot of different corners. So if you think you have something interesting to say or to talk about, maybe reach out to him. You can find him on YouTube. So.
Yeah, no, definitely will. And make sure you send that link to me because I don't know if I heard it correctly. But just message it to me or email it to me, and I'll
my website or
the guys who you think I should reach out to.
Yeah, I will do.
And but with that though, again, appreciate it very much everybody for being here.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of people in here. Make sure you smash the like button if you have not already. That helps the channel tremendously. And make sure you subscribe to Prosopa Insights. Thank the guest for coming on because he did us all a wonderful favor for giving us a good evening of streaming tonight. And as always, put women back in the kitchen, deport Cash Patel, and we will save this country. I will see you guys
Disavow.
in the next one.
Not the other side, the saving the country part. We're all doomed.
No, I'm not like pulling hard.
Oh yeah,
Peace
always
out,
judge a book by its cover too. But yeah, thank you for having me, man. Peace out.
That was a botched ending. You ready? We're gonna restart. Everybody have a good night. Peace out. Take care.
What's good, everybody? This is Atlas Thug. As much as we have, it's currently a media blackout right now. It's about a 10-minute video here. Get the libertarians out of this party, dude. Part of a new series I'm going to be running called Bot or Not.
I grew up as a white man, and you're the exact opposite, you know?
It's time we have a difficult conversation about race. 40 IQ points it needs to think about what is being told to you. Most people are just blatantly apathetic to what goes on around them and their surroundings, let alone this blatant.
A trans woman's penis make you gay?
Can I define to answer that comment?
The dating market is for men your age.
I'm not a misogynist. I'm a sexist.
Right, like for example, like as a white man, I can go out and I could go right here in Columbus and scream the N-word as loud as I wanted to because I have that privilege. Those who would sacrifice a little freedom for a little convenience serves neither.
Titan says, Browns should be for whites. We were just trying to help them run a better empire.
Hey, truth.
But she's like stock market. She's like, bro, like I can't even buy a fucking house. Like,
And you know, it probably doesn't help that half the comments are, "How are you not banned on YouTube? Man, how is this guy? How is this guy not banned on YouTube?" It's like, yeah, I'm sure YouTube probably picks up on those things, and they're probably wondering why so many people are saying that, you know.
and all these top brass pundits who have some kind of association or relationship with Epstein. You know, it's getting to the point where you got to think like I'm about to go look at my residential history and be like, did I live next to Epstein for like some time? Like, man, everyone on this planet must have some relation to Epstein. And then you go, oh, actually, no. This is because the administration is all wrapped in together with it themselves.
And I said this maybe about a year ago. You know, what if Christianity wasn't in such a cucked position that what if Andrew Tate, like Tristan, would have went to a Christian position? Fell for it again award, #1 right here. And you know what? I can't even make fun of the audience because I fell for it too. And that's probably what I'm most pissed about. He's huffing some extreme copium. Oh yeah, sister, you definitely owned him. Hey, can I see you after tonight? You know, it's like that's that's what you're competing up against, because or bad jacketing him and calling him a weird little gay.
Is this like alt-right corpse husband? What am I listening to?
Yeah.
Okay, stop it. This guy's gonna get into statistics, stuff like that.
Oh no, statistics, not
So-
on the show. We don't do statistics.